but blended in, always felt out of place. I'm running marathon.
What's good? I'd like to welcome y'all to another edition of the Major Music Lounge podcast. It's your boy D. Dot coming at y'all with another episode. If this is your first time checking out the Major Music Lounge podcast, a place where we talk to music producers, sound designers, audio engineers, music producers who create content on YouTube, also like music production app developers, and even artists are welcome to the Major Music Lounge podcast. If you're interested in coming on the show, you can actually hit me up at majormusicnt@gmail.com. Also, you can follow me on Instagram at d._majormusic. I'd like to welcome everybody to another edition of the Major Music Lounge. It's your boy D. And I'm joined by music producer, also content creator, The Fingers. What's good, my brother?
What's good? Glad to be here. Thank you for having me.
Oh, man, it's first and foremost a pleasure. You know, I've been kind of following you for a minute afar and, you know, just seeing the work that you're doing and, you know, glad to finally have this conversation with you because I kind of, you know, when I'm thinking of interviews, I got all these people in my mind and, you know, there's a lot of producers out there that follow me and, you know, finally glad to have this conversation with you. So definitely a pleasure, brother.
Yeah. Thank you.
No problem, man. So what I guess we could start off with is tell us a little bit about who is The Fingers. You know, how long have you been making music? And, you know, who were some of your inspirations as far as becoming a music producer?
I've been making music for as long as I can remember. My mom had all of us. I have three sisters and a brother, and we took piano lessons. I'm the one that stuck with it. I'm the youngest of all of them, so stuck with it. Studied music in school. Actually started taking lessons from a guy at the church, or a couple people at the church. Actually, they would show me things, and then grew up playing in church. Literally. Up until the pandemic hit and church went virtual, but went to school for music. Even in high school, there was at the time there were some music theory courses that I took, and then went to college for music, James Madison University here in Virginia to study music industry, and then ended up getting a master's from Full Sail. So went the formal music route, and then when the pandemic hit, shifted the focus from playing for other people, like playing in church and doing a lot of stuff that way, and really shifted it to my own personal music goals, sync licensing and working with artists and singers and rappers. So that's a sort of quick synopsis from, you know, mainly playing, mostly church was sort of the background, church and school. And then over the last year and a half, turning that into, you know, doing a lot more for my brand and my music. So that's quick summary.
Yeah, for sure, man. And, you know, I have a similar background. Didn't necessarily play in church, but like I was in band when I was a teenager, and just learning that bit of music theory has kind of helped propel me into becoming a music producer. Who are some of your influences?
Being a producer from Virginia, most of the like Virginia hip hop R&B producers of that should be like on the Mount Rushmore of producers that should be mentioned. But of course, Pharrell, Neptunes, Chad, Danger, Timbaland, Bink, Knots Raw. And then when you talk about the go-go influence from DC, or like the funk influence, or even more contemporary artists like Chris Brown, Trey Songz, but then you also had Genuine and Missy Elliott and Teddy Riley. So just influenced by the sound of the DC, Maryland, Virginia, sort of tri-state, the DMV area, all those influences. So whenever I come across a musician or artist that's from the area, Wale, of course, always representing DC, and just absorbing their music it feels like a personal thing, because it's like that's where I live, and really trying to build connections with those teams too, because of that just DMV connection. Yeah,
man, you say it a lot right there. You know, Pharrell, Neptunes, even though I'm not, you know, from your region, definitely one of my favorites. Timbaland, of course, Teddy Riley.
Yeah.
I mean, man, just listening, like, that's kind of like my teenage years right there. Like, when the Neptunes started rocking, like, with Noriega in, like, the late 90s, then Eclipse, and then Timbo speaks for itself, you know, with Missy and just all that he's done in his career. And then, of course, Teddy Riley with Guy. and then influencing those other guys, no pun intended, to, come into the game and become producers. And then, I wanted to talk to you because I wanted to bring up, I saw the video that Timbaland listened to your beat and gave you some feedback on it. How was that, getting feedback from somebody like Timbaland, given all he's done? Dope beat, by the way, but how was it getting feedback from Timbaland on that live stream?
It was incredible. This is about a little over a year ago when that happened. And what was great at that time is that Timbaland, like a lot of people, started a Twitch community or a Twitch stream. And he was reviewing beats, allowed people to submit beats. And at the time, he might have had a couple hundred people subscribed. I think now it's like several thousand, so it's a little bit harder to break through. But being one of the first subscribers to that and just submitting music as soon as he opened the gates, I would send stuff in. And you never knew when you were going to be reviewed. So I was watching those. I think he was going live 3 or 4 times a week. He still might do it, but 3 or 4 times a week for like 2 hours, like just listening to people's submissions. And then mine came up for that first time, and he said some suggestions. It was actually a sample flip of If I Ain't Got You by Alicia Keys, and the specific sample I took was from the versus battle she did with John Legend. And that song was meaningful to me because it was like one of our songs for our wedding when I married my wife. So it was a personal song, and I flipped it, sampled it, and then for Timbaland, for that to be the first one that he heard me like produce and turn in, and gave some great feedback, and he really liked it. He was like, yeah, just take out the second part, keep the first part, throw in some filters and send it back. And I was like, okay. So yeah, and whenever I see like contests hosted by those guys, Timbaland, Pharrell, I'm entering. Like I've probably seen 3 or 4 contests hosted by Timbaland over the last year, and I'm like, yeah, I got to get in because it's that Virginia, producer, vibe, and always got to feel like I want them to hear my stuff because I want to be the next them, or take what I've learned from them and put my spin on it and be that next Virginia producer. So that's what I'm like working on.
Yeah, that was awesome, man. Mad props to you for that. That's motivational to me. I got to definitely check out, because I know Timbaland is doing a lot of stuff with the Beat Club now, and I want to get more involved with that. And not to receive feedback, just for the networking aspect, because there are a lot of people that are a part of the Beat Club, and it's been a growing community over. I think he started maybe a year or 2 ago, and it's grown tremendously since then. As far as yourself, now I do notice you're a Logic Pro guy, and then you also use Beatmaker 3, which very similar in that regard as well, because I use a lot of Logic, I use a lot of Beatmaker, I use Machine as well. What led you really to getting into like iOS production?
All that credit really specifically for Beatmaker 3 should go to Henny the Business. Before that, I was producing. I produced on like the iPhone from I remember like 10 years ago, maybe 11 years ago. Isotope had like iDrum apps. I actually won a lot of products because I used their apps. With like they had contests with like, I think Wu-Tang had an iDrum app. This is over a decade ago. So I was always making music. Like as soon as, if there's a platform that I own, like the iPhone, the iPad, and you can make music from it, I was trying to learn. Specifically with Beatmaker 3, I came across Henny the Business several years ago. His adventures in beat making on YouTube, where he was going out with his family, or just going out like doing things out in the world, but he had his iPad, he'd be making beats, and I just like was diving into like all that footage, and he would be like, yo, I'm using this app, and then I'd be like, okay, that's the app. Eventually got Beatmaker 3, and was using that really heavy for several years. I'm just getting into Logic since the pandemic. I really got into Logic. Beatmaker 3 until then was my favorite, sort of my main production tool, and before that was Pro Tools for like 10 years. So it was like Pro Tools, Beatmaker 3, Logic. So really been diving into Logic, especially the last I would say 6 months. Just learning about that and producing with that. Shout
out to Henny, man. Henny is a big part of, I would also say, me using Beatmaker, because it was him. And shout out also to Beatmakers, the squad. As I came across, like I started actually using Beatmaker 2, and that he was one of the first people that I came across online, because I remember at that time, right before that, actually, I was making beats on an iPad Mini, and I was only using GarageBand. And I just saw other guys using this program, and I'm like, what is this? So then I downloaded BeatMaker, and shout out actually to BeatMaker, the app developers. I don't know who runs that account, but they're always coming through, commenting and liking a lot of my videos, and I truly appreciate that as well. But yeah, Beatmaker is the squad and Henny is the business. Now, one other thing I noticed too, and I saw this when they were doing it, is the Beatmaker Mondays, and you were a part of that. What was that experience like? You know, getting involved with Beatmaker and being highlighted for Beatmaker Mondays. Dope beat, another dope beat, by the way.
Thank you. What's great is I make a lot of music. A lot of us producers make a lot of music. I make at least one beat a day, which actually isn't a lot, but sometimes I lock in and make 4 or 5 a day. And I try to post at least once a day. And when I post, I tag like the apps I'm using. I tag the app developers and the DAW. So if I'm using Logic, I'm gonna tag Apple. If I'm using Beatmaker 3, I'm gonna tag Intua or Beatmaker app or whatever their tags are. And whatever sounds I'm using in that thing, in the beat, I'll try to tag them. So what that has helped with is the more you tag certain brands, they might eventually reach out. I'm not really doing it in the hopes that they would, but it's just say these are the sounds I'm using. A lot of times that's, that was years ago, that was like a hidden, secret, like, no, you can't know what sounds I'm using, but, I don't mind sharing it because you're going to make it different from how I make it using the same sounds. So I'm tagging those companies, and Beatmaker reached out with their Beatmaker Monday. They're like, we want you to make a beat and just basically do what you do and send us a video, and if we like it, we'll use it and feature it. So that was definitely great. And also speaking of like people like Hitting the Business, I was able to connect with him last year, and he reached out just because of the relationship. I was always commenting on his videos and posting videos about Beatmaker 3 or iPad production, and he was developing that House Mark 1. Reached out and I was able to get a copy of that and really check that out and dive in. But I still haven't put them out. I got a release. I created probably like 20, 30 presets for it. And they use one of them for the release, but I might just put the presets I created out into the world if anyone's interested. So I gotta work on that. But yeah, shout out to Henny the Business. So it's really how all these people that I've been following for years, Timbaland, and all of a sudden I'm being able to connect with them, the heavy hitters and legends. And they're really, down to earth. They're at least the ones I've talked to. There's no like ego, like, oh man, like, yeah, you're never going to be, it's constructive criticism if needed. But it's really just like more support and encouragement, which is great.
Yeah. It's, I love like just the whole iOS mobile community online. Seems like a very close-knit community. I mean, you said a lot of names there that I'm very familiar with as well. And for me personally, I'm excited to see in the future, given like how much of a hit Beatmaker 3 was, kind of where they take that platform in the near future. I did see you on also on that Mark 1 app as well, like going through those presets. So yeah, I remember that as well. I love shout out to Audio Kit too. I love a lot of their apps. They're a big part of pretty much the iOS platform and a lot of the instruments that been developed off of Audio Kit. And I'm, at some point I would like to probably get into doing some sound design and possibly getting involved with some of what they do. Now, as a sound designer too, I do notice you do release some of your sample packs as well. How did you get into doing that part of the music production game as far as creating sample packs? And what made you want to just get out there and start doing that?
I literally just started maybe 2 months ago, and I have 5 sample packs out now. I don't know why I didn't do it sooner. Like I follow these incredible producers who've been putting out sample packs for I think in Illmind's case, a decade. So Illmind I've been following for over a decade. S1, Cardiac, Drum Broker, Frank Dukes, Louis Bell, people who like great samples, and then TrackLib and what they do with sampling. And for me, I just never did it until I did it, if that makes sense. So I
Yeah.
sat down one day. I was like, okay, I want to create a sample pack. The first one I did was piano loops, and for me, it takes me. I can do a sample pack in one day, and I was like, okay, that wasn't. It's a day. So really like 4 hours. And actually, I'm working on a course because people have asked me, how do you do it? And I was like, and someone asked, can I put a course together on how to create a sample pack? And like why and how do you build it out and market it? And I was like, yeah, that's actually a pretty good idea. So I'm going to work on a course, but basically I do a lot of, I think about it like putting out an album. I do pre-production where I come up with the sample pack idea. Might find graphics online, whether for free or paid, and design the graphic, come up with a name, and then come up with a template for the sample pack. So if it's the first one was all piano, so I just created a template of my favorite piano sounds, and then I come up with a list of names and tempos and keys, and that's all before I start making the samples. So that when I'm ready to sit down to make the samples, I just start with number one. Okay, I call number one, piano, whatever, piano dream, BPM 120 C minor. And then I just play that in the template, 8 16 bars, come up with the idea. And hopefully it works. If not, try to redo it. But having that pre-production phase is why I'm able to create the samples so quickly, because I have all the stuff already mapped out before I hit record.
Sure,
Um,
sure. And
so
everything is
yeah,
done through like software or apps, or do you do anything through hardware?
right now it is software apps. So the
Okay.
first one was piano. The second one was organs. The third one from my site was around Halloween was the bells, like mystery eerie bell stuff. And then I did two for other companies. The first company to reach out, another great company for mobile production, Mobile Music Pro, Vortex, and the
Yeah,
whole team
yeah.
over there. They really specialize in showing people how to use Cubasis on the iPad. And they reached out to collaborate on a sample pack. And then second company that just released last week, Soundtrack Loops, reached out to create a sample pack for them, and then some others have reached out to work on some stuff for them. And I'm like, I want to get two more out on my site, and then I want to get the course out, and then I'll work on getting some of those for those other people out. But yeah, there's I don't know when this is gonna come out, but the next one I want to put out, I actually want to put two kits out this month. I want to put a sample pack out that is string orchestral ideas, and the pack is already done. I just gotta sit down and build a site around it and all the marketing. And then another one that I want to work on is one around Thanksgiving. I want to release just like uplifting melodies and things. Maybe it could be major or minor, but really hopeful, uplifting melodies and things like that. So I want to drop that around Thanksgiving, and then that might be it for my sample packs for the year. But yeah, once I realize I can do it in a day, 2 days at the most, but really 4 to 6 hours, I can knock it out, build the site, have it out there in the world, and I was like, okay, that's not too bad. And I think I was thinking it was going to take me like weeks or months to put it
Sure,
together. But having that structured process really helps.
sure.
But the inspiration came from like the ill minds, the S1s, the cardiacs, the drum brokers, all those, the producer grinds. And there's the problem with starting to mention people is you forget people, but all those influences over the years, and me just sitting down and doing it one day is like, oh, okay, so I can do this, and put it out. Yeah.
Yeah, shout out to Mobile Music Pro, and
Yeah.
yeah, I had him on. He was on one of my first shows, like way earlier this year, and yeah, definitely shout out to Mobile Music Pro, like what he's done over there. And I also will be checking out that course, or that video that you're going to be doing on creating your own sample packs. So that's an avenue I'm definitely looking to explore, because what I kind of want to do is, there are a lot of producers out there that they may only think that selling beats online is the only avenue to basically be an entrepreneur. And, there are sample packs, there's sync licensing. There's a lot of other different avenues that you don't necessarily have to just stick to selling beats online. And how has that personally helped you grow your network and just, I guess overall, be able to grow your brand from getting into all these other avenues? Because I noticed you did talk a little bit earlier about like sync licensing as well. How has that helped you grow your brand?
It helps because, well, one, you don't want to rely on just one thing. You do starting out, like, when you think about Timbaland, he was the producer, but look at what he's done over the years. So now it's like he's still, a dope producer, but you have Versus, you have Beat Club. He just released an NFT opera thing last week. So there's so many other avenues, but you do have to start with one, maybe for 6 months or a year, focus on that one thing. For me, a lot of it was centered around being a musician, playing in church. So last year I entered a lot of remix contests and composing contests and sampling contests. I probably did over 200 contests last year. And part of that was, I just try to take things into my direction, and most of my beats have like piano and strings because I play piano, and I have like some really great string libraries. So a lot of the stuff that I do on that side is really musical, sometimes to a fault, but as a musician, and bringing that to like the pop hip hop space, R&B space, but then you have to scale back because instead of playing, these complex chords, sometimes you only need to play like one or two chords for a hip hop song, and you don't need 5 or 6 changes and progressions and things. So that's where I'm learning. But the diversification is really key because you can use some aspects to open doors for other opportunities. So, for example, I could have a conversation with, a producer, or I can just reach out to a producer, just cold email or Instagram post, or Instagram message them and say, "Hey, I love this beat you did. I don't know if you use sample packs, but here's like one of my sample packs for free." So I can use that as a like an intro to a producer, or as a thank you for a producer, taking their time to talk with me. So you can use them as different avenues. And also when I do piano remixes, like I did one for Justin Bieber, Peaches, or I've done a couple for Russ. And I can just start pitching them, like sending them to his teams, like, "Yo, I did these piano remixes," but then I can turn around and do like a DeFingers Beats for Russ album, put that out, and like I just keep sending it to like Russ, and not that he's responded or seen it yet, but doing that in some cases has opened doors, and created networking opportunities where people are like, "Yo, I've seen you play piano on Instagram. Can you add keys to my beat, or can you come up and work at the studio? I just want to get you to add some stuff, whatever. I'm just going to play some beats." Or when I go places, I try to find studios there and say, "Hey, just have a keyboard ready. I'll bring all my sounds and stuff, and bring up whatever beats you want, and I'm gonna just add stuff, and hopefully you like it." So having those different avenues, the sample packs, the piano things, the production, it just helps to be more diverse. And then speaking of diversity, having different genres, being able to create, like pop or disco funk, or orchestral cinematic stuff, or R&B, hip hop, and that really does come into play for a lot of the sync stuff. So it all just sort of blends together at some point, but it's really helpful to have that diversity and that adaptability.
Yeah, I can definitely relate in that regard. I have a sync licensing agreement, for example, I did some music for a game called Hustle Kings on PlayStation 4. And that really showed me right there how, I don't necessarily have to just always rely on selling beats online, because once I found out that I can make I can make money doing other things besides just music production with rappers, or really any artist for that matter. It just opened a lot of doors for me. So it kind of led me to continue pushing for other ways I can get like sync licensing and publishing, because especially like last year with the pandemic starting, it's one of those things where you can't really go out and do a whole lot of like events like you once did. And which kind of led me to networking online, even starting this podcast in a way. One other thing, like I kind of wanted to get into in regards to you, is like you're kind of like me also in this regard, just having your YouTube channel, and a lot of that, like you mentioned, the contest and One other thing that I like is I saw a video about knowing your worth, and you don't just post really, not necessarily just strictly about production, but digging deeper into other aspects as far as like the business side of it, and knowing your worth and where to really position yourself as far as being able to grow your network and get noticed more. Um, how has it been, creating just a wide variety of content than just making beats? Like, has that also helped you grow?
It has, because this year is actually, I started a lot of things. I started my website. I started the blog and a newsletter. And the blog and newsletter is basically the same content. So whatever I send out to my newsletter subscribers every week, I also post that on the YouTube, and that's where those sort of quotes and things come. So it's usually whatever quote I hear. I watch a lot of interviews, and I might hear a quote. It's like, oh, okay, that's a great quote, and then I can put my spin or opinion on it, and that's how I come up with a lot of content for the blog. Or even when I talk to people, I'm like, oh, I like what you just said. You might see that in an upcoming post, and it's been very helpful because it's also most of those messages, or all of those messages, are basically ones I need to hear myself. So it's just like I'm just really putting it out there for me, and if it resonates with one other person, then great. And a lot of times it does. And I actually have gone back and forth with maybe I should have a separate page for that, like a personal page, and then keep one page for the music. But for me, it's I already try to manage too many social media platforms, and I don't want to have like 2 or 3 different YouTube pages. So I just throw it all in one, for better or worse. And so yeah, you might see a remix contest or a beat post, or me making a beat on Logic and iPad, and then the next day you might see a post, an inspirational post. But all of that for me is just my therapy and my creativity. So just keep it all in one, because I'm the same person. So you're gonna see all that on the YouTube or the Instagram or the Twitter or Facebook. So for me, it's really hard to split that up into 2 different personalities, even though I create it differently. But it's still me. So it's like different parts of me that you see coming together from all those different posts.
Yeah, and kind of with that being said, how is it managing your time between creating content and also, like you mentioned, you like to make at least 1 beat a day, but like let's just say you might have days where you're really cooking and that 1 beat turned to like 4 or 5. Do you see any difficulty as far as balancing your time between creating content and making music? Because I know, like with myself, I kind of try to stick to a schedule every week. Like I'll do a podcast kind of like this. I may do like a beat making video. I may do like a video where I'm just talking about a particular topic, whether that's something similar to like inspirational quotes, or it could be like a new plugin or expansion kit coming out. How has that been as far as like managing your time between all the 2?
I think that I need to get better with time management, because I prioritize making the music, and because I can do it quickly. There's always these opportunities that come up, whether it be creating something for sync, or working with an artist or something, or a remix contest that I want to get in on. So I tend to do that more, and the other stuff, like the business stuff, the content creation. If I'm making a beat, I can go live like after I make the beat, which is easy because I made the beat. But it's the other, like the inspirational, motivational, know your worth type things that I need to sit down and, okay, it's like I need to write this post, and I send my blog out to my subscribers every Tuesday, and sometimes it doesn't go out till like Wednesday or Thursday, and I'm like, yeah, here we go again. I'm 2 days late, but the message is still this, and I'm able to use that. So that's almost becoming the brand that not every week does it come out on Tuesday, but I try to stick to Tuesdays for sending that out. And I actually have a lot of things in the pipeline that I just need to sit down and schedule. I have probably 30 YouTube videos that are just on my hard drive that I've never released, because I recorded it and it's like, oh, that was a good idea, and just never put it out there. So it's like I just need to sit down and schedule things. Like it'll probably take me an hour to schedule everything. It's just that hour can be used to make 2 beats for it. So it's like, so it's me holding myself back from doing the content thing. But I have all this content like already ready, and then I keep notes on Google Docs for like stuff I want to talk about on the blog. So I keep, like, when I come across a quote, I just make a note there, and then I usually come up Tuesday morning and write the blog, or like Tuesday when I need to send it out, I'm writing the blog and fleshing it out and getting my ideas in there and getting that out to the subscribers. So yeah, it is right now for me. I need to get better with the scheduling aspect, or being more consistent with like upload times and times that I'm posting on social media. And the analytics do help because they tell you the best times to, post things, or the best times to go live and things like that. So I just need to use that more and be better with that, because I see the traction that I'm getting from not being, on a schedule. So I can just imagine how much better things would be if it was like on a schedule. So yeah, there's a struggle there, but I'm working on it.
Yeah, man. Like, a lot of people have no idea how hard it is to create content, for one. And I can get, like, what you were saying, that hit home for me, just having a lot of those videos on your computer. There'll be times when I'm making so much content, so many videos, I end up editing something. I'm like, man, I forgot I edited that. I forgot to upload it. And, those start to stack up after a while. And you're right. You're absolutely correct with that regard.
So yeah, I got to bank on. I just got to let them loose, maybe just do like with 30 videos, that's a month. So maybe I can just do a whole month of, random videos and put it out there and see what happens.
Sure. One of the things that I like to always ask every guest is, if you can give a word of advice to an up-and-coming producer, creator, artist even, what would that be?
Yeah, the biggest thing that I've been saying a lot lately is it's never too late. Like sometimes for me, I just started a website. I'm selling sample packs. I'm just getting into sync, and there's people that have been in all these areas. Websites have been around for how many decades? But there's also new people coming up in these areas. So it's never too late. You're never too old. Then I see inspiration from like, such and such wasn't a millionaire until they hit 50, or a billionaire until they hit 70. So it's, there's no timeline for anyone. Everyone's journey is different. Everyone's path is different. You might have opportunities that come across from something like a seed that you planted, 5 years ago. And then all of a sudden you're like, oh, so I see how that came around full circle to this opportunity that could literally change like your life. Just because you were a good person, or you did something, nice for someone, or help someone out. And that was a seed that maybe you didn't even know you were planting. And it came back around, 100-fold or whatever the case is for your situation. So just keep at it, whether if you have an idea, try to get it out there to the world. And definitely networking is key. Relationships are key. Marketing, because someone you run into may not need your services, but everyone knows someone who needs your services. So, for example, you might have someone in your family that might not need you to produce something for them, but they might know like their best friend, or someone they grew up with, or someone else in the family that they know that you don't know, could use your, knowledge or expertise or consulting, whatever the case is. So there's, I think, really just planting seeds, building relationships, networking, learning a little bit about like marketing to the right people, but I think relationships probably goes far beyond anything. Networking and relationships.
Yeah. I always often just say, just do it. Like, if you're thinking of something, go ahead, do it, because you're absolutely correct. I feel like now, I'm gonna be 40 in 2 weeks, or 2 weeks from today, and I feel like I'm getting more in terms of like based off of all the content I created. I feel like right now everything is starting to pick up as far as getting more views on YouTube, people finding me and, asking me for my services. Just overall, I feel like I'm doing a lot more now than I was 5 or 10 years ago. And you're absolutely right. Like, I think a lot of people, especially when they get maybe late 30s, early 40s, they're like, oh, I can't do this. I can't do this. And you never know unless you try. The worst thing that could happen is you may not gain any traction, but doesn't mean you have to give up. You got to find other ways to, go to networking events, attend some online seminars, watch a lot of, I notice yourself too, you watch a lot of a lot of content on YouTube,
Yep.
and just mentioning all of the other like contests you've been a part of, and that probably helped you grow as an individual, even though like that wasn't the main focus of what you were trying to do, but it's, just getting all of that experience helped you grow as an individual. And I think that's a very underrated thing as far as being a creator. And I feel like, this, just seeing this interview from a lot of people on the outside looking in, it might do something for somebody that is probably hesitant about creating a brand or even getting into music production or whatever that looks like.
Yeah, that's a good point. Yeah, that's just one thing I've been saying a lot. It's just it's never too late. And learn from the people that are doing what you want to do. Watch the YouTube videos or read their posts or whatever the field is. Find a mentor, or like I said, just watch interviews with them. And if you can't work with them directly, but you can learn a lot just from watching the interview with someone. And then if you can get in the room with them, even great, or have a Zoom or a conversation with them, even better. A lot of times that can be worth more than formal college education. Sitting in a session with a big producer or songwriter or singer, you can learn so many things from that experience.
Yeah. I mean, it's like we were talking before the show about like S1, and I remember S1. I did a beat critique with him at the iStandard Beat Camp one year. I think it was like 2015 or 2016, and it was just me and him in a lab together. And he was listening to one of my beats, and he had liked the beat. And one of the things that he told me in that session that I still use to this day is practice creating, like, you might have the basic structure of your song laid out, but then practice making different melodies within that structure, because you never know, like, it'll just help your song sound a little bit different straight through, as far as like not sound like it's looped all the way through, but just create some variation within that song. And that's something that I take, with myself to this day. But I mean, just that presence itself, not only that, I've also gotten a chance to hear his path to success, like the flight with Kanye West that he took, and how him and his wife, Teresa, I remember they were talking about when they were having one of his kids and he had to decide between working a 9 to 5 and focusing on music production, and how he took a chance on going with music production. And, here we are today, produce so many platinum records. And to me, that's motivational for me. I may never reach his status, but if I can do like, I don't know, 1% of what he's ever done, that'll mean a lot to me in that regard.
Yeah, and S1, again, incredible person. I've watched a lot of the interviews and the beat battles. I probably watched his. He made it to I think he made it to the championship of the iStandard, like Beats on the Beach, years ago in Miami, and I like watched that clip and I was like, yo, the beat on there is insane, and like I watched that clip and studied it like to a T. But going back to when you said what started me on the sample packs, I probably would say S1, because when I had a chat with him earlier this year, had the opportunity to send him some beats for a beat review, and within that batch of beats, I also threw in a couple samples, and he was just like, "Yo, why don't you just release some sample packs?" And I don't remember what my answer was, but of course, a couple months later, I'm releasing sample packs. So he probably had some influence on that, because I sent them to him, and I always had like. I would always make like key melodies and stuff and send it out to people, but never formalized them into sample packs. So I had that conversation with him, and a couple months later, and now I have 5 sample packs, and hopefully be up to 7-ish by the end of the year. But yes, that conversation might have been one of the like factors in me like really going in on the sample pack like creation, just creating sample packs.
Sure.
Yeah.
You have anything cooking up for the rest of the year, or anything planned for like the first quarter of next year that you're working on now?
Yeah, I do a couple things. I haven't done the piano remixes lately. I'm trying to land on some major projects. There's another company that I've been working with that is a really great company for any creative person called Hard Drive, HRDRV. They have a catalog club where I've been landing some sync with them. But it's just a great community of almost 3,000 creators right now. It is a membership, so you pay a monthly membership, but it's basically people who are serious about their careers, run by an incredible entrepreneur and singer-songwriter named Nikki Shiloh. I've been part of that community for about a year and a half or so now. And they do weekly meetups. Anyone can come in. I think Sundays they do free like Zoom sessions. You can come in, ask questions. But it is a membership, and the people there's some incredible producers. There's Emmy-winning directors, like film directors. There's graphic designers. You can get lyric videos made. There's a beat catalog of thousands of beats from all the producers assigned to it. But then if you need a singer or songwriter, you can just tap into that network and be like, I need a singer for this project or a songwriter. So it's a really, really great network of people that is going to be sort of the future of the industry. That's Hard Drive. So working with them, I'm looking forward to what they have coming in the new year. For me, like I said, the sample packs I want to get out, at least 2 more this month. The sample pack course I want to get out. I have this what I call the Fingers Beats 4 series, where I come up with instrumental albums. So I did one for Usher, did one for Drake, Rick Ross, Derek Milano, Shinsia. The last one I did was for Russ. So I want to do one for Sean Garrett, who is incredible. I want to do one for some other artists, but at least want to get the Sean Garrett one out for the end of the year. So hopefully I can do that this month too. So really piling the stuff on. But that series has opened a lot of doors. Just networking with the people who the albums are for. I really lock in on the vibes for these artists and try to get it to their teams. And study like the Instagram algorithm where I can, find people that are close to them and try to get it to them. But yeah, those are sort of the big projects, really, the sample packs, the course, and the instrumental albums. And then next year, I have an album that I release every time Stranger Things comes out. So it's a series that I call "Forgive Me for My Synths," SYNTHS. And it's a synth-based album. I don't think there's any drums or anything. It's just all synth stuff. A lot of it's digital synths, but try to make it sound analog. Some of it's created on the iPad. So season 4 of Stranger Things will be out sometime next year. So around the time when they release that, I release like the 4th installment of this "Forgive Me for My Sins" album. So
I love me some Stranger Things too.
The soundtrack there is insane. And of course, remix contests contests. There's a contest out now that I want to enter to win some great software about where they give you a clip and you have to compose music to the clip. So doing a lot of the composing things, which helps me build that side of things for the catalog, which I like ambient, instrumental, cinematic music. So a lot of things in the works.
A lot of things cooking.
I just need to sit down and let it cook.
Where can our viewers and listeners find you and your work online?
I'll give you a couple links. Most of my stuff, Instagram is usually the biggest platform. So Defingaz on social media, DAFINGAZ. I don't know if you see it in the background a little bit. If I move.
There it is.
But DAFINGAZ. And the website, actually, I don't know how many music producers or music creators follow you, but if they go to defingaz.com/free plugins, FREEPLUGINS, free plugins, spelled the right way. I just released a list of sort of my go-to free plugins. It's over 30 resources that will unlock probably hundreds of sounds. But also, if you're not a music producer, if you're like an audio engineer, a singer, a songwriter, there's some really great effects plugins in that list also. So defingaz.com/free plugins. It'll ask you to join the mailing list, and then I'll send you that plugins list and then some bonus stuff along with that list. So definitely check that out. Some of my go-to free plugins that I use in my productions.
Sure, I'm gonna check that out as well. Definitely check him out and get those plugins, those sound packs. I'm gonna be waiting on that course on as well about creating my own sample packs. Looking forward to it, and they want to say to you, keep up the great work. Big fan of what you're doing, and definitely glad to have had this conversation with you. It's something I wanted to do for a while, and it was a great conversation, man. So keep it up, brother.
Yeah. Thank you. Appreciate it. Thank you for the opportunity.
No problem. No problem. This has been another edition of the Major Music Lounge podcast. You can actually follow me on Instagram at d._major music. Also follow me on Twitter at d.mme. And go ahead, hit the subscribe button. Check out the new episodes of the Major Music Lounge podcast every Friday on this YouTube channel, as well as all podcast streaming platforms. And until next time, I'm out.